Hello everybody and welcome to New Adventures and the Carman Conversation. Before we go any further, I'd like to introduce the people who are having a conversation with me today. And so let's start with...
Hi, I'm Sara Cormack, formerly known as Saran Curtin.
Hello there. My name is Kemp and it's my pleasure to be joining you. I joined the company in 1995 and was part of this original Carman creation. And it's a pleasure to be on here with these guys.
Hello. My name is Alan Vincent and yeah, it's a joy to be here with you guys.
And hello. Oh, that's good. And hello, I'm Etta Murfitt. I'm the Associate Artist Director of Matthew Bourne's New Adventures. And I was in the production of Carman along with Sara, Will and Alan. And we were all in the original cast, along with Scott Ambler, who played Dino, who was the garage and diner manager. And we'll all talk about our characters in a little bit, but today we're just here to have a chat about the original production because this Sunday on Sky Arts at 8 p.m, the newest version of Carman is being shown. And so we thought it'd be nice to go back and have a talk about the original production, the characters, and how the show developed while we were doing it. Just a little bit of information. The Carman was originally premiered in May 2000, and then it did a UK tour. Then it did 19 weeks at the Old Vic Theatre in London, which was sort of outstanding at the time because it was the first time a dance theatre production had been performed at the Old Vic. Then it went on a tour internationally, and then we ended up filming it. Then Carman came back in 2007, which Alan was still in. And then it came back again in 2015, which Alan was still in, but playing a different part.
Can't get rid of him.
And that is the production that is being shown on Sunday, the 3rd of May at 8 p.m. on Sky Arts. So I think we should start this off by just telling everybody who's watching who we were and what character we played, and maybe a little bit about what our character was like. So shall we start with Sara?
Why is it always me first?
I don't know.
Ladies first. It's ladies first, isn't it?
Ladies first. Where are you, Alan? I think he's joining us from a different planet.
He is. He's from Star Trek.
Well, I'm in the healing room. That's right. I'm in Myra's healing room. So that this is one of the paintings.
It's beautiful.
Oh, it's very nice. Yeah.
All right. So, Sara.
Sara,
About your character.
who did you play?
Who did I play? I played Lana, who, she was a bit of a flirty floozy. She was married to Dino, who was the garage and cafe owner. She worked in the cafe, bit bored with life, most definitely bored with husband, and liked to flirt. And when a new person turned up in town, Alan Vincent, he took her eye.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, so the story developed from there.
And Alan, do you want to tell us a bit about your character?
Yeah, it wasn't just Alan that you were flirting with. I'm sure you were flirting with Will and Ewan as well. Didn't they play Hot Rod? A lot of flirting with Hot Rod. You're right there, Will.
Yeah.
Luca. So I played Luca, who was the drifter that turned up in Harmony. And what was he? He just he was a bit sort of just didn't really care about anything, I don't think. He definitely took a shine to Lana, that's for sure. And Angelo, actually. He was kind of I don't know. I think from being just drifting from place to place, he would just get as much as he could from wherever he was at the time. I think, you know, if that makes any sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Was, I think I always felt like he was going in and trying to see how, how he could make his life easier, sort of instill himself in a place and just have an easy life, but also to see if he could ruffle people's feathers a bit as well. That's what I was feeling.
I mean, certainly stuff went down, didn't it, when he arrived? Like, a lot of things happened, which was really exciting about that show, I thought.
Yeah, true.
You know, it always felt a little bit different each night as well, which was nice.
Yeah, that is true. Will, do you want to tell us a bit about? Well, you played Angelo and Luca, didn't you?
I did. I got to do both. I was part of the creation of Angelo. I actually looked up the rehearsal notes, the very original little notes for Angelo. Say early 20s, petrol pump attendant, seemingly naive and inexperienced, unlike the others, a loner, bookish, reads, has glasses, polite, hardworking, corruptible, attracted to Luca, hero worship, has hidden depths, sympathetic, made fun of by the other workers. And an interesting note that I found, and you guys might remember this particularly, you, Etta, was, do you remember originally Angelo was reading books, had glasses, and a pet mouse?
Yes. Remember that?
I do not remember that at all.
I don't remember that.
Just popped into my head.
A mouse?
Pet mouse.
Yes, there was a point in the rehearsal process. I think we were rehearsing at the RSC. Is that correct? And it was a point within the whole company where we'd come together through several productions. We had this incredible trust. And I think that we all shared a unique passion for creating stronger characters, stronger stories, and were definitely much more inclined to the acting, where and why and where the choreography came from in order to push the story. And I remember playing around with this bizarre little fake mouse.
Rodent.
Yeah. And the problem was that I think particularly with Etta was you were up for him to be awkward and shy, but not to be a damn right weirdo. So we lost the glasses, we lost the mouse.
Ignore me completely and be really interested in a mouse.
Yes.
Yeah, that was great.
So one of the biggest struggles I remember was between the Rita and Angelos, was how to make their relationship still one that is somewhat attractive, or that Rita has to find something about him that's attractive. And then balancing with Lana and Luca, who are, you know, these gorgeous, very hyper-sexed, wonderful, strong characters, how we had to create kind of the weaker characters in the beginning and make that real.
Yeah,
and that was a challenge.
Yeah,
it was, but I think there was a yin and yang, wasn't there, between Lana and Luca and Angelo and Rita. I struggled with that, but it was quite interesting in the end for Rita, my character, being a sort of under Lana's sort of shadow quite a lot, and always playing a second fiddle, but also being supportive of Lana, knowing that she was having difficulties with Dino and trying to protect her whenever she could, if she could. I always felt like Rita wanted love, and she really loved Angelo, but she didn't know how to get him. She was always struggling to get him and was prepared to wait. I think she always felt that he would come round eventually. But I do think that having those fiery characters, and then Rita and Angelo being the quieter ones, I think that worked really well in terms of the storytelling and how we all evolved around each other. I thought it worked really well, and I just loved doing that show, can I just say, I just loved it. I loved it.
It's definitely for me, for sure, definitely up there with favourite roles for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, likewise.
It's just because it was just really fast paced and like you say, like real. Like it felt like you really had to invest within the character to give it justice. You know, it felt like every night after the show that you'd gone on this emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's probably one of the best structured shows, and I think what Matt did incredibly well with the Carman was to use the essence of Carman and what you know potentially from the opera and the music, but change it enough, change the title, change the story, the characters enough that it was very easy for the audience to get hooked and to not come in with any sort of prejudged, oh, I know exactly what this is, because he was very clever and I think was working with a company that were all on the same page from the creation. So I think that it's definitely one of the best pieces as a thriller. It's very sexy. And I watched the version that we filmed last night, and it's a brilliant film, and it still holds up. You guys are phenomenal, really. I tell you, it's what, 20 years ago? It's 20 years ago, and it still holds up. And that's partly because of we created this incredible piece with these incredible characters that have gone on for people that have been dying to play these parts.
I know, that's quite an amazing thing, isn't it, when you think about it, is that all the generations of New Adventures dancers that have come and gone, the Carman is one of the pieces that everybody wants to do, and I think that is amazing. And it does feel, I feel quite proud of the fact that, you know, we were that particular company that created that show. And I think, Will, you're right, it was at a time when we were really getting into the intricacies of storytelling and how to get a story across, and to use the movement to tell the story in a really clear way. And I think that was a real turning point, I think, for Matt and the company. And I think you're right, it would have only happened with probably that group of people at the time, which is really lovely. I asked you all to ask somebody else within the cast a question. And again, I'm going to start with Sara. So you've got a question for who?
I have got a question for Will, I think was my person, if I remember rightly. But it could be for anybody. It's kind of more, it's not so much to do with the show itself, but it's just because we're all sitting here reminiscing. It's to do with the tour and life on the road. And so it can be a UK or a worldwide, but which was your favourite tour venue and why?
Wow, we did. So this was the second longest running show, if memory serves, to Swan Lake, which we had all just been doing that year for the second time in the West End at the Dominion, and we went, if I remember, straight on to then creating the Carman. Is that right? In 2000.
That's right.
We did a UK tour starting in Plymouth, didn't we? And then we came to the Old Vic. This whole period of time for me was incredibly special, just the group that we had, and I felt that we were creating new work and pushing the company in a new direction and exploring acting much more, which is obviously something that I took on, and pretty much from around about the end of this tour, which, if memory serves as well, we ended in Los Angeles.
That's right.
In 2001, and our opening night was supposed to be September 12th. Yeah. And September the 11th happened. And I remember that day vividly, of course, as everyone else around.
Oh, we may have lost Will. I think he's in a really good position. So
He's frozen in
Sorry.
time.
there he is. Hang on a minute, Will.
Sorry, I was boring anyway, I'm sure.
No, you're in a really good position. So go back to.
I mentioned September the 11th.
Yeah.
But I remember this time particularly, and a moment in time for calling in to speak to the company manager to ask what time rehearsal was, and having her tell me, I'm not sure, given what's just happened. And I had no idea what she meant. So I turned on the TV and I saw the tower, and I saw the plane hit the second tower. And for all of us being out in Los Angeles, all of us away from home, it brought the company together in a very powerful way that I remember fondly. And I think, if again memory serves, we cancelled the opening night because it was that night, but we gave a free performance the following day, because as a company we all needed the chance to come together and release the whole what had just happened, I guess. And that for me is a real crystallizing time of company, performance, work, what the entertainment can give to the people, and what we were able to do. That was why we were there, and so we carried on.
Yeah, it was
Powerful times.
Yeah, it was scary. My daughter was only 4, something like that, and I remember that particularly feeling very disconnected from my family, and really relying on all of you to get me through that really difficult time, because we were there for another 2 weeks, weren't we, before we was that right, before we flew home?
Yeah, because we went up to San Fran, and we were due to go to Chicago and the whole of the East Coast, but it all got cancelled. And
oh, that's right.
For me,
God, I'd forgotten that.
Yeah, for me, that was a turning point, because I stayed out in Los Angeles, having been through this whole process and learning acting to support this kind of work. That was the point for me to choose to pursue acting. So I stayed out in LA for a couple more weeks, went out on tons of auditions, landed a job. And so for me, it was a massive change in the kind of work that we were producing as a company. It had empowered me to then take the next journey into acting. So I went off to do a film later that year, or the year after.
It's incredible. So, Will, so because
yes,
I asked you a question, you've now got to ask somebody.
Got to ask you a question.
Yes.
Well, you and Alan, because I've been talking for far too much. But one of the interesting things, you guys carried this production on. I was sort of in it probably the least, I think, from its initial first few years, but you guys carried it on through quite a few other incarnations. So I guess my question is to you, Etta, and to Alan, but particularly Etta, in what changed through the many years. Particularly, I remember the relationship and the choreography for Rita and Angelo changing. What was it like bringing in new people, and also you not performing in it?
Well, I think by that point, the company, we'd done many different restagings of different shows, like Swan Lake, for example, and been using people. And so I'd got used to the idea of seeing different people in different roles. I think when we first came to do Carman again, I'm not going to lie, it was a bit tricky. It was tricky seeing people do my role, Rita, because I loved it so much, but I was lucky because it was Kerry Biggin and Hannah Fasalo, who are both so extraordinary as performers. So coming to the restaging of it, one, it was just brilliant to do that movement again and to see it come to life again. And also it was interesting to see how it was mainly the chair duet actually for Rita and Angelo that changed. And I think all the changes were sort of for the better in a way. That duet sort of, and their relationship with the knowledge that I had changed in a good way, I think. And there was good conversations that went on around it. The creepy duet has not changed. It's maybe changed a little bit. Every time a show is restaged, there's always a little bit of discussion about movement and what it is and why it is. But that creepy duet, I remember when that creepy duet was done, it was done on a bank holiday Monday, and it was just you, Will and myself who were in the rehearsal room with Matt. And I remember that day vividly. Do you remember that, Will?
I do. And if I'm correct, we just banged it out in 1.5 hours, I suppose, as a
Wow, did you now?
We did. We just banged it out, darling. Back in my day, that's what we did. We went into the rehearsal room and banged it out.
And I remember when we showed it, probably the next day or something, you could not hear a pin drop.
It was super powerful.
That duet.
I remember that. I do remember that. Everybody was just like, what the what? Looking around at each other. And the music just was perfect.
So actually doing that duet and seeing it done again was again sort of a weird sort of contradiction. I sort of loved watching it but wished I was doing it, you know. I was in this sort of to and fro thing. But I think with again that particular generation of dancers were really extraordinary. You know, you had Richard, Kerry, Sam Archer, Alan was still dancing about. So I felt really connected to it because I had good relationships with the people who were doing my role, I suppose. But even when it was done again, I'm so sort of connected to that show, really. But I do, on the other side of it, just to finish up, I really do, I love restaging now. I really enjoy that because you can watch something and go, does that work? It doesn't work. Let's look at it. Let's see if we can change it. Does it work if we do this? Does it work if we do that? And the last time we did it, Alan and I had to teach loads of the material, and I had to do the Lana duets with Alan.
Hang on a minute. Didn't we also teach a give a fight workshop?
Yes.
And I was like smashing your head into the diner wall while you were doing me. One of the two. I couldn't remember.
That's right.
I don't know anything. I mean, we had. I do know a bit about sort of fighting and stuff, but that was quite bizarre that last time. Yeah. I think for me there, what I really liked about the last time, 15 was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I really like that because I think all shows need to evolve and you know, new artists bringing something new to characters and stuff. So I really enjoyed that. I didn't really have any sort of like, somebody else is sort of doing my role or anything like that. I found that quite exciting. For me, I felt like the pressure of stepping into Scott's shoes was like a really big deal for me. Because, you know, Scott was just an absolute legend and just, you know, so key to this company, and that role was such a that's for me. I just really wanted to do that justice, doing sort of Dino role.
Yeah, you did, I think. And also you took the essence of Scott, but then you moved it on, which is what you want.
I mean, well, I spoke to him when he came to see it. That was the one person I just wanted to see straight away. Was like, was it okay? I didn't butcher it, did I? And he was really happy. So that made me happy.
Yeah, and I think that's what's good.
I've got a
about-
Sara.
You are?
Yeah.
What was
No,
that?
sorry, I thought I was trying to move. I was trying to
let's
move on
move
to
on.
another
Let's
thing.
move on. Yes, Alan, ask Sara a question. Perfect.
So, Sara.
Yes.
So sorry, because I was just feeling slightly emotional then. So this show is full of abuse and violence, and it ticks like so many different things, doesn't it? And I wanted to ask, what was the most sort of emotionally challenging part of the show for you? And then how would you, so it's a two-parter, and then how would you sort of leave it on stage? Would there be like a thing that you a process you went through after the show, or was you like, no, I've done it, it's all done, it's fine? You know, being able to leave all that sort of emotion on stage.
That's a bit of a
Is that a full-on one? I thought that was quite
question. That's quite a full-on one. You said that you would give me a one-word answer question, and you give me like.
Well, you could say the scene. Like you could say, okay, killing Dino scene was that could be one word.
One word should be just drink. That's how she got over it.
Yeah.
Big glass of red wine.
Yes.
That's a tough one. She does go through. I mean, yeah, you've got the garage duet into the murder, which was probably one of my favourite weirdly one of my favourite parts of the show, because it's a good bit of drama to get sort of into. But then, yeah, I suppose you've got the whole murder scene at the end as well, which was tough. And then I kill you. So hey, I mean, I always felt like I'd been sort of really sort of dragged through it emotionally. And I can remember, and I think in a way though, this is true of any show that you do. You go to bed and you relive your whole show and sort of replay it all and think, okay, well, maybe that didn't work, that did work. I really felt like that was good tonight, and I was really in there and I was really in the moment. But how did I get... I think probably the best thing that we did was just go to the pub and have a pint after the show and
absolutely
go back to normality, actually.
So, and also though, I can say that the way that the roles were all structured, if I right, and you can correct me, is that each role has their point of release. So much sort of drama and trauma happens, but for every character there is that moment of release. So you do kind of, particularly with the Calm Man, you leave it out there. It's kind of structured into the arc of every character, really, that if you're carrying a lot in act 1, come act 2, there is a point that you release it, that you either kill someone or you kiss a person. There's a very clever structure, and I think for Lana particularly, she has a lot going on all the time, and there is that point of release. And I think that was definitely one thing you did brilliantly with creating that, is that journey.
Yeah, Sara, I always loved well, you know, I've always loved being on stage with you anyway, because there's always a little cheeky little twinkle all the time. In fact, I love being on stage with all of you, because there's that ability to be able to perform, but also know that you're with everybody on stage. And sometimes you can perform.
It's safe.
Yeah, and sometimes you can perform with people and you don't really have that connection. But I always loved, when I could watch you, I always loved watching the fact that you could be chatting to somebody backstage and then suddenly go on stage and be completely in your character and be so in it. And so, especially, you know, all the murder and everything, really be in it. And at the end, be just back to being Sara. And,
I think everybody could do that, though. That's what it seemed like behind the set. It always seemed like there was sort of funny stuff going on behind, you know.
there's always fun. I
And
remember
then
stage
running off and
brave
going
guy.
to smash someone.
The fart machine. Do you
Oh,
remember
the
that?
fart machine.
Oh,
Yeah.
God,
The
yeah.
water pistol.
I remember all sorts of things. I remember having the squeezy water bottle when everybody was in the party and I was off and I was squeezing people with water. That's terrible. Don't do that at home, folks, if you're on stage. I do remember there was room, wasn't there, to have every night. It was a little bit different, like Alan said. You could have moments with different people, especially in the pre-show, which I used to love doing. The pre-show, it was always really good fun. That changed a bit actually with each sort of generation of the show to try and make it a bit clearer and plot. Hello, doggies. And plot Angelo's journey.
I think that's Alan. I think he's trying to say something. Bark up, Alan.
Oh my God, sorry, it's my dogs. Someone's at the door.
I know what I was going to ask. I should ask. Oh, Alan's disappeared. I've got a really vivid memory of the show, but I just wondered if any of you had a particular. Well, Bill, you've talked about your 9/11 memory, but Sara, have you got a particular memory of the show?
I've probably got a few. I think one of my biggest funny memories of the show is Arthur Pitter in the curtain call with the loo roll.
What was that?
I just heard loo roll.
Yeah, Arthur.
Was that Arthur?
Yeah.
Yes, that was brilliant. That was brilliant. Him come running on with it stuck on his shoe.
Yeah, and he didn't know why we were all laughing. And we were all in absolute hysterics.
Yeah, that's what was being Angelo, wasn't it? He came on as Angelo with toilet paper stuck to his shoe.
Yeah.
And I remember a mic call. Do you remember me coming on, slipping on the blood?
Yes.
With my arms up in the air and I was Will picking me up. I do remember that. And what's your other memory, Sara?
St. Paul.
Oh,
Going to the State Fair. Going around the ghost house with Will and Ewan and screaming our heads off.
Oh my God, I remember that. It was like a little girl.
Clinging on to each other, weren't we?
Really clinging on to one another. And then we all went to see Moulin Rouge, like all of us. It was pretty much the whole company. We were all walking along that really quiet, weird
road, yeah. And we were the only people there in the cinema, weren't we?
The only people in the cinema, and we just sat there and absolutely just loved it. And Moulin Rouge became a bit of the film for the US tour of Carmen then. But
yeah, particularly
and Etta's classes. Oh yeah, didn't you start using Roxanne?
I did.
In your classes,
yeah. I still do, Alan.
Yeah.
My choices haven't changed very much.
It's a great song.
I've got a memory of being in Newcastle, getting to the fight at the end, and then Will coming up to me when he grabs me and going, I think I've broken my foot.
That's true. That's true. I crashed out of the UK tours? Where was it? So Norwich. Newcastle. And
and shaking.
Oh my God.
And oh my God, but it was so real in terms of the end of the show.
Wow.
Yeah, I did get an injury towards the end of the tour. I snapped my ligaments in my ankle.
Oh.
It's a brutal show, isn't it? And you inevitably push the fights a bit more, or you take a bit more of the other person's weight, or you do slip on the blood. But it sort of had that kind of energy, the whole show, coming out of what we'd created, like Swan Lake and Cinderella, and then this was something much more real. The girls were in bare feet, which I recall was fantastic. The costumes, it was much more real, and we were allowed
Oh, he's gone again.
It's gone again.
He's gone.
Or that can begin to come apart, and then you literally do let rip, which is so when I left the tour.
Yeah, that for me was I'd never experienced anything like that on stage before or since, actually. So it's really stuck in my head. Alan, have you got any memories?
I've got a wardrobe malfunction, Sara. You must remember what I'm going to say.
Was that the change climbing down the ladder out of the bedroom?
No, it was drunk duet. Sara, do you remember?
No.
So do you remember when we do I fall down your body and you drag backwards and I come to my feet and then I press you up.
Yeah.
Had a bit of a breast moment there with the popping out the top of the dress.
You did?
I thought, well, clearly it was me.
Sara did.
Dress, yeah. And I just felt so bad for you because like, there you were up there, for everyone to see, and it all popping out.
I never
quickly
knew
turn
about
around
it,
and
though,
bring
Alan.
you down.
She never knew about it until now. This is the first time she's heard it. She had no idea we kept this a secret for 20 years. Of course she knew. You remember Sara, right? It's happened a couple of times, I seem to remember.
I don't remember that one as much, but I do remember the time that happened in Cinderella. And the whole of my costume just broke, and it was Will's pressure of doing the pilot to my Cinderella, and he was trying to keep me covered up the whole way through a 4-minute massive pressage pas de deux. So I remember that one. So just a bit of boob popping out the top in.
That's nothing, is it?
Nothing.
God. We'll probably be finishing up soon, but so before we finish, is there anything that any one of you is burning to say about Carman and the show and the fact that it's going to be screened on Sunday the 3rd? Is there anything you'd like to say about it, or
like what Will said earlier on? Isn't it still available to buy?
Well, our version, I think you can still buy our version on DVD. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, no, I have to say that was a massive climactic career point. I think for everyone to be able to film it the way we did it, which was at Pinewood in a studio over 2 weeks with cranes and camera equipment, and that, in fact, look what I found. Look.
Oh, can you read it?
Remember these? These, for the younger generation, this is a magazine. This is paper, and you turn the pages.
Oh my God.
This is the amplifier, which was printed for the Friends of Amp, I believe.
Yeah, you've got to read a bit of your thingy.
And they asked me to keep a diary while we shot the film. Now, this is probably going to be really boring, so I'm not going to read off too much of it. But like Friday, March 30th, shooting Act 1, jukebox dance. As it turns out, most of the women take around 2 hours in makeup, to much of the boys' dismay and jealousy. And production runs behind schedule by 4 hours. And there's another entry. So I'm told that the first day on set is always the worst, and I have to agree. You stand around all dressed up, trying to maintain your character, staring into the darkness in front of you, looking out at the man in headphones who goes by the name of the floor manager. I did, however, manage to break the ice by hitting the deck rather spectacularly on the first camera rehearsal, completely confusing the cameramen, who asked me whether I would be falling over in the exact same space and exactly the same time in each take. I was then picked up on my hat continuity, a small factor considering I was having difficulty standing up. It can only get better. And it just goes on and on. But it's actually, it was really, really lovely to read again. And just sort of how we were able to really encapsulate all the ideas that Matt and company had from a
Oh, he's gone
He
again.
keeps doing this. I thought I was going to be the one having the issues.
You're going to have to say that again because you kind of went.
Crikey, my computer's even bored of me. That's how bad it is. But no, anyway, do you remember a card game called Queenie?
Queenie, yeah,
Because
God.
I have an entry in here that says Alan came out of an immensely intense game of Queenie with several time rollover of £24. Right?
What can you do?
I seem to remember that the ladies
Winner.
played Queenie as well, but we didn't use money. Did we? Did we use money when we played Queenie?
Yeah, we joined
did.
in with their game.
Did
I can
we?
remember joining it. Yeah, I can remember joining in with all the boys.
I just remember being
And-
terrified when the film happens. But anyway, go on, Will.
Do you remember continuity pictures from Wardrobe
Yes.
that were of characters, and they had a big wall at Pinewood, and they literally went from taking continuity pictures for costumes and have pinned them up all over the wall outside the studio. The display, brilliant and funny, as most go from rigid first day serious character portrayals to something you would expect to see in the circus. There were even shots with very little costume in it, entitled "Have a Ball" and "Sex Doll." Need I say more?
Oh my goodness.
Anyway,
it was somebody's birthday at the end of that because somebody got egg and flowered. Wasn't it Ben Hartley or Neil?
Hartley, wasn't he leaving? I think he was leaving.
He was leaving.
yeah, no, I put in here. They so even though we had run several hours over, the producers put on free champagne and beer, which we stayed and watched them dismantle the set around us.
Oh.
So we just literally were like drinking and watching the whole set just literally be taken down around us.
Oh God.
That was a very special time, I think.
That film.
Should see that film as well, I think, just to get the
Yes, so I think what everybody here is saying that you should watch the DVD, but also watch the amazing.
Yes, the point of all that is I absolutely can't wait to see this version. I don't think I've ever seen it actually, so I'm very, very intrigued.
I haven't seen it.
Very excited to see it on Sunday. Is it?
Yes, it's on Sunday. You're sharing things, Will. We can see.
Yeah, I was going to try and play it for you guys to see if it works. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Oh wow.
Oh, see, this can be.
Oh my God.
Look at that.
Right.
No.
Not again.
That's brilliant.
Look at that for a movie poster.
Oh.
That's gorgeous.
Oh, I've never seen that one.
You look
Right?
Yeah.
They're so lovely. Oh, I remember
That's
that.
the iconic. It's beautiful. I love you, mate.
Oh,
Oh, I love you. Sorry.
Look at you.
Hello,
too.
love. Hello, love. That's
You come here
you're
often.
right.
How long do I have to hold this pose?
I'm bound.
I'm bound. Look at
oh,
the
look
only
at
picture
Oh,
I
I
have
still
of
love
Etta,
that
I'm
bit.
covering her face. That's the old Vic.
Wow.
Pumping, thumping hip. See?
Oh, love
Rated 12. And that's the original, that's the whole cast list.
That's
is
a video.
brilliant.
That's how old it is. It's a VHS.
We are the VHS Carmen.
Oh.
We are.
Brilliant. Oh, that's lovely, Will.
That is brilliant. Maybe we should finish up here and just say thank you to my lovely friends and fellow dancers, Sara, Cormack, and Will, Kemp, and Alan, Vincent, and myself, Etta Murfitt. And it was so lovely to talk to you and connect. And we were just saying before we started recording this that we need to do this more often because it feels like this particular moment in time has been amazing to catch up with old friends. But if you would like to watch Carman, it will be on Sky Arts at 8 p.m. on Sunday the 3rd of May. Lana is played by Zizi Strallen. Luca is played by Chris Trenfield. Angelo is played by Dominic North. And Rita is played by Kate Lyons. And Dino is played by Alan Vincent.
Hooray! I'm definitely watching it, Alan.
I might
Cheers,
even.
guys.
I haven't seen it yet. I know the company sent me a copy of it, but I haven't watched it.
Well, now's your opportunity.
So I might do that on Sunday.
Yeah,
It's
Sunday.
very
the
strong
3rd of May.
cast.
Yes, it's a great cast.
Yeah,
So
great
say it
cast.
one more time. It's on Sunday, the 3rd of May at 8 p.m. on Sky Arts. And I just want to say thank you once again to you guys. It's been so lovely. Thank you very much. Yay!
Thanks, guys. Lots of love. I love you. Thanks for being in my life.
Oh, damn. Real tears.